Checky, check. Fun. So comments. Click here once. Oh yeah, interesting. Down to the bottom. Streaming right now, apparently. Although my video seems kind of frozen. Is the video frozen? It feels pretty frozen. I'm gonna look on Twitch in a new tab because I have no idea what I'm doing. Am I sitting right there? Yeah, my video ain't moving. There's something wrong with my camera in this, so I think I need to, maybe I'll just, apologies to anybody listening now, but obviously, hopefully you can hear me, but my video is just stuck, right? I don't know why that is, so I'm going to try to fix it first, and then we're going to play with CSS module scripts, or attempt to understand them at least, because it's just on my list of things to understand that I think will be kind of interesting. But for now, let's see if I just remove myself, and then that I went away, right? How do I add something back? I'm using a piece of software called Ecamm Live that seemed to me like a pretty cool... Oh, there's me again. But it's locked. Why would it be locked like that? I'm literally going to unplug it and plug it back in like it's a... What's like the most classic thing that you can unplug and plug back in to have it work again, would you say, in the world? Computer. Double click to pick a source. Video source. I could use my camera instead. Oh, there, I'm back. Look at me moving and talking. I'm looking at you in your eyeballs. Right on. I'm not going to tweet this or anything because I don't know if it's going to be any decent. But here I am down in the corner. Maybe I'll move my screen around a little bit so I'm not taken up over the screen. Okay. All right. Thanks for everybody who showed up. Maybe you got a notification or something. It would be kind of interesting to see how you got here, because I have absolutely no idea how you got here. I'm going to open my little comments window, so if you happen to say something, I'll be able to see it. Ecamm Live, it's called. Comments. Beautiful. All right, Twitch notification. Oh, Steve, thanks for telling me. That's great. That's most Twitch that I watch is that same exact way. I get the notification. I'm like, I'll watch that. That sounds good. Watching people play blueprints and stuff like that. Very enjoyable. All right, but we're doing front-end web development today. This is on my list. I have not done my homework ahead of time. That's the point of this streaming, I think, is to kind of learn together and check some stuff out together. It's not, pre-formulated videos where I'm already some genius in the thing and I'm showing you my genius work. Let's figure it out together. So this was published a while ago. This isn't actually like super hot off the presses. It's from a number of years ago. I think browser support for this concept is pretty low. I think it's just probably Chrome right now. It's saying here it's only available in Chrome and not Firefox and Safari, but that was 3 years ago, so we'll have to check in on that, check their work a little bit, as it were. But what is it? I mean, first of all, because we're developers, we're just going to immediately look at the syntax of it. But let me show the syntax of it. So it's like ESM, right? We're going to import something, but we're not importing JavaScript. We're importing CSS instead. Already, that's immediately like, whoa, that's weird and interesting and different. Without the assert here, that would be meaningless, kind of, because it would look at, it would be looking for an export of some kind, which wouldn't exist in CSS, so that's happening. And then, just adjusting crap, all right, getting my life straight. but you can tell it it's about to be CSS. If you've seen this before, I think it's because asserting of type JSON is a little bit more common. It's a way to like get an object right out of some JSON data without having to like parse it out or save it as JS instead or something. So that's called a type assertion in ESM. It's just this type assertion is CSS, and it comes in as something else, I guess. It comes in as a sheet. I don't even know how to tell you what type it is. But the reason I'm attracted to looking at this and see if we can make it work, at least we'll just stay in Chrome to do it, is because I think it's like a way of styling web components that might be useful for us. So let's go to the, I have been and will continue to use CodePen's new editor in kind of in a private beta stage. So let me know if you want in on this. But it's going to be useful for us immediately because of the file system access that the new editor has. We're going to, this style sheet, I think we'll use that style sheet. We're not going to link it up. Actually, we will link it up there. Let's make a folder called like my component, because I want to make a web component, and then I want to try to use CSS module scripts to style the thing. That's our goal, I guess. So let's make a new file in there. We'll call it mycomponent.js, I guess, right? And then we'll attempt to co-locate the styles, which is appealing to me. So mycomponent.css2. So what I want to do is scaffold out this component and then get it to render at all at first. So we can see how that goes. We have to kind of remember how to make a web component for sure. It uses, let's be looking at the JavaScript for sure. It uses like custom elements, right? Custom elements dot define is the way to make one. And then you name it. So we'll call it my component just to be consistently terribly boring. And then the my component class, which we haven't made yet, but that's going to make it so in the HTML, let's close that for now and bring the HTML down here. In the HTML, if we were to make a angle brackets my component, that's going to be the component that we're about to define. And we're defining it like class my component extends HTML element, right? That's the basics of it. And we need a constructor. Does that require constructor? Which gets called when when this class gets instantiated, I guess. Normally you call super inside of it. And then let's mess with it. Let's just see that it works at all. So we'll console.log, I don't know, whatever this is in the context of it. Then we need to load it up. So in addition to this script, I guess we'll keep that script around even though we're not really using it. We'll load up my-component/mycomponent.js. So that's going to get loaded, and then what is the question, I guess. Andrew's back. My #1 super fan of the stream. Is that what it's called when it gets imported as a constructible style sheet, and then you can adopt a constructible style sheet? I guess that's the terminology that's used. Very sorry. Seems to make sense to me. Okay. Did this do anything? We can open the console to see. Hello from the console, and this is my component. So that means that's just proving that this JavaScript loaded and it found an element and it ran the constructor. I guess it doesn't really prove that it found an element. How do we prove that it found one? Isn't it connected callback is the thing, which will run as soon as it finds one. If we say console.log found one, will it also load that? Maybe? Yeah, okay. So that's kind of proving that in the HTML, it found a my component, and this is that component. So if we said, we don't need to log it anymore, but if we said this dot inner HTML or something is h1 my component, we'll close the tag like HTML superheroes. Okay, so we have control over the element as well, but we're not using Shadow DOM. Do we care if we're using Shadow DOM? I think we probably should, because maybe we'll try it both ways, but we'll apply the style sheet that we're going to attempt to import inside the Shadow DOM. So how do we do that? Isn't it as simple as like this dot attach shadow, and then what do you give attach shadow? An object with the mode, which is open or closed, which for $100, I'll tell you what that means by looking it up. Fun. So now we have a shadow, and now it's not rendering anything because the inner HTML of that doesn't actually matter. I think we have to do that to the shadow root now. Shadow root needs to have that in it, not just this. Okay, so now that's the way it is. Interestingly, well, let's do the thing where we have an H1 above it and H1 below it. It's making me want to like prove that the Shadow DOM is actually working. So I guess what we could do is like backticks this sucker and then put a style tag inside of it, which will showcase one of the reasons that I'm doing this at all is that I don't like that. I just don't think that's a cool way to style components, is to just do it as a big old string. It just feels like a bummer to me. But if you do this, color red, will that select this and not that? That right there is showcasing the power of the Shadow DOM, right? That a style tag in there is not going to leak out. The styles aren't going to leak out to this H1. It's only going to affect the H1 that's within itself. So I guess that's a pretty terse explanation of Shadow DOM, but that's what I don't like doing. And I know that lit element has like some fancy, don't they have like styles in here, and you define it and it helps you a little bit, but you're still kind of writing the styles as a string. I don't like that it, I think there probably is linters and formatters and stuff that can deal with it, but the syntax highlighting is even busted in here and stuff. I don't like that. It feels like you're not really writing the language. You're writing a string that becomes the language, and I feel like that's a footgun waiting for problems. I don't love that. I don't love parts. I don't love applying custom properties to everything to style within. Like, I think there's a time and place for all that stuff, but generally I think that's annoying. Wouldn't it be nice to just write some CSS that applies to that opponent? In my mind, that's what these constructible, adoptable style sheets things can do. So let's just see if it works, I guess. So, and crucially, the CSS is like co-located, right? On the outside of that. Isn't that nice in some way? That's how we could write our entire app theoretically, is with folders of components, just like we probably would do in Vue or Svelte or anything else when you have a component, a folder that represents a component, and then you add more and throw them away and stuff, and don't worry about the styles lasting for 10 years because everybody's afraid to touch it and that sort of thing. All right, so we're going to get rid of the style element in there, because what we're going to try to do is figure out, or I guess we'll go back to this article and just keep reading it and figuring out what's going on here. With the new CSS module scripts feature, you can load CSS style sheets with import statements just like JavaScript modules. The style sheets can then be applied to documents or shadow roots. So we can do it either way, but I feel like it's not going to be very protective if we don't use the shadow root. But maybe we'll use @scope, see if that can work. In the matter of constructible style sheet, this can be more convenient and more performant with a link. Well, that's interesting. I wonder what it links to. I mean, obviously we can click it, but I don't want to get derailed this early. And other ways of importing and applying CSS. So browser support, yeah, we already looked at that. You should be familiar, but with constructible style sheets. I'm absolutely not, but we're going to read ahead anyway and break the law. This is how it works. We saw that. So sheet is going to be something. We'll do a type of on that sheet, or on that sheet, and see what it is and prove that it's a constructible style sheet, I guess. And then you just apply it, but you apply it as an array. That's kind of interesting. Or you apply it to the shadow root as an array. I guess that's cool. So if you have multiple of them, it's just an easy way to do that. You could spread them in there or whatever. The default export of of a CSS module script is a constructible style sheet whose contents are those of the imported file. Like any other constructible style sheet, it is applied to documents or shadow roots using adopted style sheets. Unlike other ways of applying CSS from JavaScript, there's no need to create style elements or mess with JavaScript strings or text. I'm glad we're on the same page here. I just explained that in the stream before I even read this, so good. CSS modules, not to be confused with, CSS modules, the thing that's been around for 10 years that I also like, also have some of the same benefits as JavaScript modules, meaning they're deduped. Okay, that's cool. So if we had one that a whole bunch of different things imported, it would dedupe it. Like, from what perspective, though? It will still only be fetched, instantiated, and parsed a single time. So it's smart enough to not even download it again. Huh. That's good. Wow, cool. Consistent order of I wonder how it does that, though. Does it, like, know the absolute URL? And, like, what if you link to it with slightly different relative URLs? Is it still smart enough to know somehow? How does it know? Consistent order of evaluation, cool, and cores is a thing. So that's cool. Ooh, I just saw like a little thumbs up happen in my app. I don't know who thumbs up to me, but I thumbs up you. Dynamically imported style sheets. You can also use the import. Isn't import like a node thing? You can use import as a function. I guess I should know that. Oh yeah, you can. I just never do that for some reason. Yeah, it's dynamic, and it also looks kind of top level here too, right? It looks like a top level await, which is neat, because like there's nothing async around this. It's just somehow going to await it anyways. Import rules not yet allowed. Okay, well that's interesting. So when you're inside of this is just going to be ignored. That's fine. And then, yeah, it has to be of type module. That's interesting. We didn't do that, and it seemed to work though, didn't it? But we're not yet using ESM imports. But let's remember that quick, because that would be something I would screw up for sure. So this is the wrong thing, right? We don't need this tab. We want the tab above it. I guess I could just open the sidebar. Geez, we don't need that much room. Cool. So this component we're about to use ESM in, so it needs to be of type equals module, because we're about to use the classic import keyword in there. So can I do I do it in the constructor? Where does it recommend to do it? Or it's just not using, these demos are not in web components land. But where would you do it? The constructor probably, so it only runs once, I guess. Can I use an import statement right here? Or do I have to, or would I write it like up here? I would write it up here, right? So import, what was it, sheet? Does it have to be named sheet? Can I name it whatever I want? From, and then it's a relative path. So my component.css, and then what's the syntax again? Do you say assert immediately? I already forgot. Yeah, that. Assert with a type. I wonder why they made an object. Just to name the param, I guess. Okay, is it already broken? Unexpected token class. Is this current, or was it because I was typing? A way to usually do that is just to clear the console in CodePen and run it again and see if it shows up. I hope it doesn't show up. Okay, unexpected identifier assert. Why? I copy and pasted that. Let's copy and paste it again to make sure that it wasn't just a dumb typo. My component. This is going to scuttle the whole thing if it just doesn't work at all. Do we have to use a... Why would it care? There's no build process that's messing with this, is there? No, like these are the same. That makes it through our build process just fine. I might be a little stuck if that's the deal. Is it, I mean, maybe we need to check can I use or whatever. Can I use CSS Module scripts. Does MDN have a page on it? Nothing on. I don't know how I'm going to find that. Module. Ooh, what do I do? Module. JavaScript modules with dynamic import. This is not helpful. CSS module scripts MDN. It's just this one page that I was reading. Is that right? Is it like the least documented feature in the universe? Assert. I found 4 examples of it, and they're all in the sidebar. Okay, so MDM's not up to snuff on this thing at all, and there's no browser support to know. Do we need to read this a little more carefully? It did say they're available by default in Chrome and Edge version 93, which is way back. Aren't we at 120 or 17 or something now? So that's really far out. Does it not like being in a script that has a class after it? Should we try the dynamic import syntax? Maybe. So we'll comment that out for now. I mean, that's weird that it's just like, I don't know what assert is. Or like, are you sure? It feels a little weird doing it here, but does the constructor need to be async then? Unexpected reserved word. Line, what's the reserved word? Can you make an async constructor even? I'm not even sure that's cool. What is it mad about? Line 8. So it's saying, is it wait, or is it, which one of these is the unexpected word? One thing we could try is just to, is assert just totally broken in this version of Chrome? If we go new file, my component.json, and make some valid JSON that's like foo is bar, and save it, then we import stuff from JSON and assert the type is JSON here, and then log stuff. Is that going to have stuff? An unexpected assert. Let's remove that. Yeah, it just doesn't like assert. It just this is just not a thing that Chrome supports, even though that article said it asserts. I was sure that JSON assertions would work. And it just doesn't. Does it just, maybe if we remove all of the web component stuff, is it just cool then? No, it really just isn't. It doesn't like type assertions. Type assertions don't exist. Huh. Maybe let's try just regular Chrome. I don't think I'm sharing I'm going to use Canary too, just in case it's like some flag that's cooking, and then I'll just have to in my stream, I'm gonna have to change what I'm streaming on the fly. Somehow I actually trust this software to do it, unlike the stuff I had before. So if I show Canary, just fly to Canary quick. That's cool. That worked. How's the video quality too, by the way? I selected 4K, which I'm not even sure I have the bandwidth for, but maybe that'll work. Oh, this is interesting. And this stuff actually affects you too, doesn't it, Andrew? Well, wait, I am logged in. I was thinking of, we weren't showing the pen previews to anonymous users. And I was like, oh, here's the pen preview. But I'm logged in apparently from who knows the last time I opened Canary. I guess our cookies are pretty long lasting. What are we getting? Is the same thing? Yeah, so Chrome Canary, it doesn't know what a type assertion is. Like, is it actually, I'm just completely flabbergasted. Look at it, I'm collaborating with myself. It's telling me that me in another browser is on this particular line of code. Nice feature, huh? Pretty sweet app, I'd say. That's too bad. I hope to get a lot farther than this, but maybe they pulled it. Is it possible they just pulled this feature out of browsers entirely? JavaScript type assertions. We don't even have to look up CSS module scripts specifically because the JSON didn't work either. That's not the right kind of assertion. What am I talking about? JavaScript on import. Import assertions. There's the JSON style. It's right there. Should we try it in like a new pen? We'll start super clean. See if just starting from scratch makes sense somehow. Type equals module, paste, foo.json, and then what was their example JSON file here? Merp. Answer is 42, and the script should log json.answer. Okay? It's going to go. No, it's going to tell me unexpected identifier assert. So it's just broken. I almost want to like go to an older Chrome version. Clearly this worked at one time. Maybe 2021 was really the year for this stuff, but this stuff appears to have been pulled. Unless CodePen's just doing something really wrong. Is it serving a wrong content type or something? The executes JavaScript if evil.com responds with a MIME type of text JavaScript. Oh, that's why you do this. It's because you're like, no, I only want JSON data. I don't want this to be something else. But we tried that line of code. Chrome, you say you support it. Shipped in version 91. Telling you right now, it don't work. Let's do one last thing before we just abort and do something else, where we look at the network and see it attempt to pull the file. So if we refresh here and just look at all requests, then clear it, and I'll just refresh the preview, it pulls my component, but my component does not. Oh, you know what? Maybe it is us because my -component.json doesn't exist in the file system because it's getting fingerprinted. I mean, I know it says it right here, but it's somewhat likely that this file becomes what we call fingerprinted in the build process and then isn't sitting there as we expect it to. Because look in the head, like what's actually getting loaded up is my component dot blah, 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 fingerprint. Oh, am I sharing the wrong browser? I need to share the right one again. Arc. Untitled. That's the right one. So I'll repeat what I just said. I'm going to clear this out. I'm going to refresh the browser. Yeah. Andrew, I think you're right. Your instinct could be right here, is that the script file is getting loaded up. And if we actually look at that in the new browser, okay, that's that file. But I mean the my component one. It's going to say import my component.json, but that file isn't actually on the file system that it's being served from, because it's the fingerprinted one is probably sitting there, which we can't really see. This build output isn't showing us what the fingerprinted value of what my component.json is turned into. But that, I don't know, it doesn't feel like that's the problem because it says unexpected identifier observed. It's like it doesn't understand the syntax, which is just kind of a different concern. Well, I guess what I could do is just export the pen quick and load it up like just from localhost or whatever. But doesn't ESM require a server of sorts or something? Andrew's got a link. What if I hit add to broadcast? What does it look like? Oh, there's your thing. Ah. That's a cool feature. That's a cool feature of this Ecamm Live thing. A not so cool feature is that it's not text that I can click like anywhere. So that's not my super favorite thing. I can't even look at your demo because I can't. I'd have to take a screenshot of it and use that weird feature that, what do they call that? OCR or something? All right. Well, I have the dist files from this build. I know you can't see that because I'm not sharing like my Finder or whatever in the stream, but will Arc even let you? I'm going to use Chrome and then I'll just reshare if it works. Oh, yeah. Okay. That should be good. So like changing stuff that you're sharing like midstream is a special journey for sure. Canary. So we're looking at the DOM or whatever of this. So hello world. Look at I downloaded the pen and I'm in the dist folder and I'm rendering the index.html, which should have all the files that it needs. It does. So what's going on? It says hello world. Is that good? Shouldn't it be? Oh, it's a CORS thing because it's not a real web server, right? What is the very quickest way to spin up a web server inside of a folder? Spin up web server in folder. I'm going to put CSS tricks because I wrote a thing on how to do that once. Start a web server with one command. Should we do it with Python and then get it on 8080? That should work. So now I have to, this is just a little more behind the scenes work. I'm going to open that dist folder in like VS Code or whatever, and then I'm going to run this Python server locally, which is not happy about it. Let's try the, isn't there a PHP one? Let's do the PHP one. Python 3 was pissed. PHP always works though. Oh, good old PHP seemed to work. It's not HTTPS though, so let's see. Okay, nice. All right, it's it. We're like, I know we just did a bunch of work here, but it's the syntax. It doesn't like assert. It feels like maybe that's still actually a bug in the 2.0 editor with the fingerprinting and stuff, but that's totally fixable. I'll just make a ticket and we'll fix that. This is that Chrome just no longer supports import assertions. So let's just talk a little bit longer about why I wanted to do this, and then let's freaking bail and and talk about something else, because I do have another thing that would be kind of fun to talk about. I'll scooch back to Arc. Man, that is efficient that I can do that. I feel like there should be some documentation on why the heck it's just absolutely broken. Change assert to with. Really? Where's the docs on that? It's absolutely worth a shot. With. Oh my God. It absolutely works. When did they change that? And why is no blog post say that? Oh, good catch. Tell me where you found it. I want an unclickable link that I will share on the screen where you found it. That is wild. I'm going to tell Google. Google, bad job. Okay, it's with, not assert, even though they're called type assertions and every piece of documentation in the world, albeit limited, says that. So we don't need this kind. We have this kind, and now we have, what got logged? Oh, it was because we're still doing JSON. That's fine. We can leave the JSON there, but I'm obviously much more interested in the CSS. So what does it look like when you log it? Stuff is now just an empty object. That's weird, but I guess I don't totally blame it. Actually, I'm forcing it to be an object right there in the log, right? What does it look like if you don't do that? It's still an object. Ooh, but it's an object of CSS style sheet. Lovely. Oh, it got changed in Chrome 126. Okay. So you found it in Can I Use. Did you not see me search in Can I Use? It was freaking not there. What Chrome are we under? We'll Will Arc even tell you? Isn't there maybe there's a different command for about Chrome? Doesn't it tell you? I'm sure there's some way to know. All right, I've stopped caring, but it's clearly 126 or beyond. JavaScript statements, import assertion, or maybe I was typing module instead of. I need to look now. I need to be vindicated. Import, dynamic import, import maps. I mean, I can type assertion. I just feel like assertion. Look behind assertion. Assert static method. Oh, with the assert syntax. Formerly import assertions. So I've said the word import assertions a million times, and apparently that's not what it's called anymore. It's now they're called import attributes with assert syntax, even though it's not the assert syntax, it's the with syntax. Wow. Here it is. And assert died. That's funny. How often do you see a can I use chart like that had this big swath of usage and then it goes red? That's wild. I don't know. Enough. We've uncovered enough information about this. But now we have this thing that logs as an empty object, but it's an object of type CSS style sheet. Is it because it's empty? That's probably why. Body, background, red. But body isn't going to match anything. So let's do H1 in color. So we're actually attempting to style something, even though we haven't even attached it or anything yet. But what gets logged now? It still logs as an empty CSS file. And that might be because we're going to need to abort and go localhost because of the linker and the fingerprinting problem that we thought might be an issue. Still might be an issue. But now that we have it, we can go back to that original article, which of course I probably closed out of frustration here. CSS module scripts. Back to this original 2001 article where you just, it's just the shadow root and you call adopted child sheets and you put the thingy in it. So this should be a one-liner. Right? Why do I keep having the wrong? Oh, this was our one where we were just trying JSON. This is the one. I'm going to label it so I know where to come back to. Trying CSS module scripts. Are they even called that anymore? Now there's been so many name changes that I'm nervous about it. So shadow root, we'll just call this to be correct. And sheet is what we want. Okay. Let's clear this and make sure. Are we actually having any errors, or we're cool? We cool? Wonderful. It did it, but it certainly didn't work. So now my sanity check alarm wants to go off and try the localhost version again because of the fingerprinting thing. Okay, import attributes, they're called. CSS module scripts, and this part of the import statement is the import attribute. Fine. So now I'm nervous that the only reason it's not applying is because it can't find this file properly. So bear with me a moment. I'm going to just share my Chrome Canary again, I suppose. So you're just looking at that, right? And I still have my local host version of it open. So I'm going to just mess with it. I don't know that sharing will be perfect, but at least we'll be able to prove and see if writing, HTML in there or writing CSS in there actually works. Change assert to with. Uncomment my crap. Sorry, I know you can't see any of this, but I assure you I'm just doing the same changes that we just did in CodePen. All right, and then what was the amazing PHP host 2222 So localhost. Okay. What's wrong? Failed to set adopted style sheets property on shadow root. Failed to convert value to CSS style sheets. So interesting. Oh, I was trying to pull in the JSON instead of the CSS. Is that going to go? Failed to load module script. Expected a JSON. Oh, that's just a typo on my part. Oh my God, it worked. All right, so let's look at what we did. Here's my component. My component has, oh, that's so tiny. We are using what's the correct thing again? We're using an import attribute to make sure this thing is a constructible style sheet, which we're appending to the DOM this way within that CSS file. I know this is a little janky to see in this way, but that's how we're rolling today because of a CodePen bug. We're setting H1 color red, but the H1 is not affecting this H1. It's only affecting this H1 because we applied it to the shadow root. So this is kind of the clutch line right there. That's kind of a beautiful thing. It's just saying like, I'm going to pull in this style sheet and apply it. And we know that it's what they say, it's deduplicated. So if this line of code is in 50 components all over the site, it's only going to load it and parse it once. So that is really nice. I mean, the fact that it's only in one browser is a bummer, but it means that like we could write blog posts about it or talk about it more, or anytime we talk about web components, you could be like, that's the way to do it. Now, is it one more network request? I guess it is, so I use this component now and we'll reload the page here. It has to load my component, my JS, and my component imports this. So it's a second request. But it is deduplicated. It is, presumably you're serving on HTTP 2 or 3 or 8 or whatever we're on now. And it's not particularly inefficient to just keep that connection open and pull down another file. Kind of less of a concern these days. And then it's not working in CodePen, but we'll just look there again to look at the kind of the co-location stuff that I was kind of into. I wish it worked in CodePen. I'm gonna log that bug and see how fast I can get it fixed, because it'd be tempting to make like 3 or 4 of these components and then use them in a modern way and see how the style co-location goes. Maybe make like 3 different components that all use the same CSS file, so we can watch it be deduplicated in the network tab. That would be kind of cool, and test its efficiency. Remember, let's see if I can find the pen. The reason that this come up or was on my list is that in your work, it was like, I guess it was a couple weeks ago now, because I was trying to get a little bit of data on like what using a big style tag would be like across like a zillion components. And that's what this is. And so there's this quote unquote normal CSS approach where in the header here, remember we just loaded up a regular old style sheet and it styled the card and that's it. But this entire chunk of CSS then in this, if I click at scope approach, that CSS is being duplicated because of this line here. We're just including this style.css file with the at scope and stuff in it like 1,000 times on this page. And the point was like, what kind of performance are we looking at? Like that seems like it would be terrible performance. It turned out that the performance was actually kind of good because, and I heard at CSS Day from somebody at Chrome that's like, it's actually smart enough to like detect that the style block is the same and not reparse it and deal with it, which is really cool. So, but it means we didn't get very good data, because if all these style blocks were different, then it wouldn't have that efficiency, and maybe we would have seen the DOM slowdown stuff that I was kind of assuming that we were going to see. But a third test of this would be an adopted style sheet, which would be kind of cool to see, wouldn't it? Yes, it would be cool to see. I wonder if not, I don't know. I think the problem is it's not the web component that was the problem with what we just did. It's that It's the fingerprinting problem. So it's just going to be hard to do here in CodePen, I think. But it'd be cool to make a third approach here, which turned these into a little web component and use the adopted style sheet or whatever, just to kind of test performance on that too. Or maybe in this CSS file, we do it with like a Sass random in it or something, so that Chrome can't be smart and detect that the styles are exactly the same, because they won't be the same. They'll all be a little different, and I assume it would screw up its little algorithm on detecting that. So that's cool. So we didn't get as far as I wanted to, but when do we on this ill-fated stream? I'll tell you the other thing that I kind of wanted to do, and I don't know if I have the energy to do this on Friday afternoon, but this is I'm totally changing topics entirely. Is that, and it came from some podcast I was listening to, but it was talking about, design versus development. And I honestly have never worked at a shop like this where a while back we had Claire as a designer at CodePen, and she was awesome. But she was kind of a developer too, and had a strong sense of what web design could take. But so I've never worked at a place that just has just straight up people that just work in the Adobe tools or Figma or whatever, just a design thing. And they just don't code at all. And then they give you a design, and there's some expectation or whatever that what you produce as a front-end developer is pretty close to what they designed, right? But you hear about it all the time. That's kind of the basis of it, but what I wanted to focus on or think about or make a list together with people potentially watching the stream is what is like hard to do in Figma that you just can't express it in the same way that the web can. And that list is like mega long, I think. Maybe we could get started on it, but I'm not sure we'll be able to flush out the list entirely, But if you were just designing a button, it's just a nice blue button or something. What can I do in here? Like, I can make this button look amazing. I can do border radius and box shadows and get the font just right, and Figma has cool stuff in it that the text can make the box expand when I do stuff that's very web-like. But what can't I do? Like, what is the list of stuff that's like the web can do but this can't? And I feel like the list is just very long. It's like anything that, like, I don't know, sure, I have border radius, and I remember when they didn't even have the ones that allowed you to control just one border at a time. But that's just one number, isn't it? The web has like a 2-number syntax for border radius that affects it and stuff. So there's just no way in Figma that I can really express that same syntax that the web has. That's kind of interesting, I think this has variable font support, but does it really? Is it one-to-one to what the web has for variable font support? And then even just really basic stuff like, what does the focus state look like? How do I express as a designer what the focus state for this button is in Figma? Well, I can, but the way that I can is probably like, I don't know, they probably have some, I'm not like a master of Figma. Maybe they have some state feature built into this. I'm sure they do in some kind of way. But like, how easy and obvious is that, I don't know, but it's more likely that I'm like, oh, I'll just duplicate this and that'll be the focus state. But what's the visited state? We'll put that down here too. And what's even just the hover state, the most common of the states? I'll have to put that down here too. Now I have them all spelled out or whatever. Maybe that's a good way to communicate it. Maybe it's the more tedious, as Andrew was saying, built-in stuff for states as part of variables or something. Maybe, sure. But I feel like and it's not like Figma sucks. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say, like, that's a little, it's weird to describe, This picture of a website is not what a website is. What are worse things than that, though? It's like anything that has to do with scrolling. How are you going to mock that up? That'd be wild to mock up in here. Maybe you mock up what one state looks like, but how does it feel? Anything animation or transition related seems like very difficult to deal with in here. What about things like position fixed? How do you express like, whoa, but when you scroll down, I want this particular box just to stay in the sidebar, How do you express that? But I feel like if you look up, like, we could probably make a list 20 long of things that are just very hard to express in a design tool. And again, it's not because I don't like design tools. In fact, I prefer designing in Figma if I can. But it's just that list is so long of stuff. I want to make the list. So maybe on a future stream we'll make the list of things that suck about paintings of websites rather than actual websites. Cool. So yeah, not a long stream, I guess. But they probably rarely are going to be, but very much thanks for hanging out. I didn't even social media this one. I just let the Twitch notifications roll, and it kind of worked. And it was the first time I ever used this one that Chris Enns turned me on to called Ecamm Live, which I find way nice. I was using the Streamlabs one before, but it clearly looks like an app that they, when an app looks like you built it in something non-native and then you use a native app and it just looks way nicer. I hate to admit that as a web guy, but the really nice native Mac apps I really like, and it feels like it kind of leans into that world a little bit. But I'm going to call it, which means there's just a finish button. I thought I was going to have to awkwardly talk for much longer. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Bye-bye.